keeping everybody in the loop on that. Any other questions? The other item that the chief asked me to address was, I believe he sent a proposal to council regarding the purchase of a new vehicle, and that vehicle of choice was a Chey Tahoe. I know he did some, I know he came up with some numbers. I don't know what you have before you, but I'm here to answer any questions regarding that vehicle purchase. It's a replacement vehicle for a 2000 Silverado, which we presently operate within the police department. It's to replace that vehicle. It's a 2000 Silverado. It's got about 155,000 miles on it. That vehicle, though it still runs, we run it hard. It's equipped for emergency response, and it's been used for that purpose, for emergency response, for emergency operations. And the chief feels that it's time to replace that vehicle for something that's more current. We've been to different shops that deal with equipping our police vehicles, and one of the reasons why he selected the Tahoe is that seems to be the vehicle of choice for most departments. When we go into those installation shops, that's what we see. It's got four-wheel drive capability, and that's something that we wanted. Plus, it's also capable. We have access to 3 trailers that we've used quite frequently to haul evidence, to do other things, and we needed something that was capable of handling tow packages as well as the other functions. It's going to be used as a command staff vehicle. We have three officers that are part of the command staff, and it will be utilized by one of those command staff members. That's about what I have. Any questions?
So in the report, it says one of the alternatives is continue to drive an unsafe vehicle and maintain a vehicle that should have been replaced years ago. We just bought the public safety director of Suburban. Is there a reason this vehicle wasn't replaced before his vehicle was replaced?
When was that?
It was in the last year.
What?
Yes.
The Suburban? The Suburban?
It's been a long time. That Suburban has been around a while.
Yeah, I believe we've had it for a few years now, the Suburban.
So, how is the Suburban used versus how this vehicle is used?
Like as I mentioned, we have 3 members of the command staff. We have one of those vehicles being used by the command staff that we feel has reached its limits, and that needs to be used, needs to be replaced, and it'll basically be used the same.
So the public safety director doesn't run calls, right? He doesn't answer respond calls?
He does respond to calls. He does not take an active role in those calls, unless it's any progress calls, and then he's working in the field. An example of that would be one of the escapes that we had where the chief was present. He responded to that escape call. There's other calls that he'll show up. He's mostly administrative. He doesn't have arrest powers. But he does respond to calls. He doesn't take an active role in investigating those calls. He functions as a supervisor and administrator capacity when he does respond to those calls.
And above the 137 or 47,000?
There's about 147.
No, I'm sorry, the cost.
Oh, 36 replaced.
So what's the cost to outfit on top of that?
I don't have a cost on that. What it would cost to outfit.
I don't
remember.
It was $2,000.
So I mean, I see the cost of the vehicle, but I mean the emergency lights, the Yeah, computer.
Well, it wouldn't be, the cost would be less than if we equipped a regular vehicle, because it would remain an unmarked vehicle. It wouldn't have a light bar. It would have a siren. It would have lights. We would put in a second radio to the rear compartment of the SUV. So the cost would not be that of equipping a regular police vehicle that's used by your patrol officers.
Okay. I'd like to see that before we vote on this next week, if we can.
Estimated cost? I'm not sure how the chief wants to handle that. I asked him if it was going to be used as a trade-in vehicle or a surplus, and he hasn't made a decision on that yet.
I'd like to know how many calls John's responded to in the last year as well. That was great. Not necessarily tonight, but then we can get the stats report.
Any other questions?
What's council?
Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Does anybody need a budget? Do we have it with you the last time?
I don't have it.
I have it, that's the one.
No, I can share.
Does anyone, Josh?
No, I got it.
Okay.
You got it memorized.
Gary, you have one?
It's got it memorized.
You want a budget? Sure, let's test them on it. It wasn't before. That's good enough. Do my crooked presentation. Okay, so I need to. Good evening, everybody. You can hear me okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, fine. Bring this over here. You can hear me. Okay. So tomorrow, just want to let you know, tomorrow we're going to have the budget ready for the public. It will be updated from this one. I just haven't finished it yet. I have a few more items to go over, but it's not significant changes. Anyway, and some of it's cosmetic as well. I just wanted, and I brought the PowerPoint along by request of the mayor, also to help with any guiding, if any questions you might have. So far, I haven't had any questions, and I really would like a little bit of guidance from anybody that has some. Okay, so everybody's read the message. I think it's pretty straightforward. Next week, I plan to bring the first reading ordinance for the budget for 2014, and we still can make changes all the way until the last reading, which will be 3 weeks from tonight. That's December 9th. So, and if you have any questions, I do have the budget on my laptop, which I can show up there so we can go over it. Okay. So I'm going to go along, and I won't go too fast, so if anybody has a question, they can ask. If there's any questions about the revenue or the narrative about general fund revenues? Anybody? I've done research as far as into the biggest revenue, which is the taxes, and I'm very secure in what we're getting. I've spoken with them at length, and I don't think I've ever been more confident in the amount that we're supposed to receive. So it will go up about 30,000, but I didn't put the whole 30 in the budget just to be conservative. see if there's any other questions. No, it's not there. Okay. Council, if you have any ideas of any kind of goals you want to input, I realize it's a late start and that next year we'll probably have more time to build this, but anything you can think of that I don't have listed, because I have very few things listed, email me with any of those and I'll put them in. Just needs to be a bullet, something that maybe a passion that you've had for being on council. It would be good to put it in now.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
I'm taking them now, rather than me giving an email, because I'll forget by the time that happens.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's technology improvements. I know we have money in the budget for it now, but it needs to be, how the rest of council feels, but I think we have a pretty decent plan in place to improve communication.
A good start.
It's a good start. It's not there yet. And then the other thing would be, city hall improvements. So, and Leanne and I talked this weekend, I mean, little things like painting and replacing the carpets so we don't have duct tape running around the middle of the room. You know, I'd like to see this, and I've talked to Kelly a little bit, you know, see if we can turn the judges' chambers into like a council office with a shared computer and a workspace that we can actually use. And so, just little things.
Okay. And I do have some funds earmarked for technology upgrades as far as computers, council chambers, and other areas of the city, wireless network in here, which really helps when you have a presentation because you can go online and get what you need sometimes, regardless. We also talked about Fund 300, which is the Municipal Capital Improvement Fund, and thanks to the city clerk, we got some information on that. What it says it's for right now, we can amend this, but it's for facilities, purchase of land, and for building new facilities. But the fund, it's hardly been touched, and I think if we could amend it to read something along the lines of upgrades to facilities, that would be something that would definitely look good. You know, like you said, painting and touching up City Hall. Yeah.
Great, Josh, you memorized something.
You memorize that line.
And then could that be used for the microphone system or the ADA hearing compliance and painting and carpet?
That's kind of what I have in the budget already.
Right.
That part. Yeah, 300 has, well, going into next year, I project 395,000, and they'll receive another 145 next year from the real estate excise taxes, so over $500,000, right?
So that's all REIT money?
Yeah. So, and it's just sitting there growing, like, and this year we've used, on the Carna Meadows project, we used $47,000. I imagine that was to purchase something over there, I'm not sure.
That was paid for street lights, and I'm not quite sure what else they did.
So that would be the facilities that talked about. So, yeah, you can definitely target that as far as, you know, upgrades. Yes, sir.
On the staffing level,
Mm-hmm.
I see that we have 6 police officers, and I was thinking that we had discussed adding 7 on the traffic patrol.
Right, the chief does have that in his narrative, and we definitely can talk about that tonight when we get to that point. He's not here to talk to us, but maybe LP can, or we can, remember this is this is the second of 3 workshops, so it's definitely an item I'll put on a list to talk with the chief about as well.
I was just thinking that another goal I'd like to see is some increased budget in the parks or development, possibly developing the park next to City Hall, especially under the circumstances of the siege on the city park by King County. It's kind of going to be hard to utilize and promote a happy environment in the city now, where you can't even drive by and see anybody doing anything in the park as far as, you know, positive activities that we have with our citizens. You know, it was one thing I used to enjoy, driving by and seeing what was going on, who was having a party or whatever, you know. So one of the things I'm thinking we may have to do is take a look at utilizing the park next to the City Hall here doing some design preliminary reviews or something.
I believe the Park Commission has a retreat this weekend.
I know, we said.
Right.
Where they're gonna sort of brainstorm what improvements at the various parks, as well as try and put some budgetary costs to it and a schedule.
I'm just taking my council 2 cents in before I have to go to that meeting on Saturday.
Well, and we'll also not only put money where our mouth is, but we also need to modify the comprehensive plan, if I remember right, if we want to do anything with this park, right, like it needs to be added and
Yeah,
drawn out.
I think the parcels right now are not listed as directly as park parcels. Though in the budget, they have been included in that because long-term plan, I think, is to put them as part of that.
So is this something we can kind of throw out there?
Related to deferred maintenance at City Hall, we also have huge backlog of deferred maintenance on streets. And realistically, there is no source of revenue large enough to cover all of it. So I think a 5-year plan on some realistic numbers on how much street maintenance we can expect and realistically which streets will be allowing to go back to gravel. Unless the legislature changes their mind.
And whether or not you want to start chip sealing the street.
Yeah.
You talking about gravel and oil?
You put down a layer of asphalt, and you put down very small rock that buys you 7 to 10 years. And it's great for residential roads. It seals up the cracks and to prevent water from getting in, undermining the soils underneath, which then causes it to crash in a little bit and creates problems when that happens. You seal those up, seal the top of the road, you buy time with it. And you've got a lot of residential streets that will benefit from that.
All right, but when you have that loose gravel and oil like that, and it kicks up on the cars, it's really hard on the cars.
It is one of the.
Very hard on the cars.
You can do a 2-step approach where you, actually it's more of a 3-step approach. You spray the oil mat down, put gravel chips on, you let the traffic ride on it for about a week, you go back and you sweep up as much of the loose material as possible, and then you put a seal coat over the top.
Let me know what you're using.
Sumner does that on a regular basis.
It's hard to stuff it so hard on the cars.
It can be hard on cars.
It is hard on cars.
How many potholes do we have budgeted to install this year?
I think you've got more potholes than you do.
And then another separate issue, we've got lots of grant funding in the works for trail expansion. We should find some way to coordinate with King County to do a bit of maintenance on the existing interurban eventually, because it's far past where chip sealing it would keep it from caving in. It's collapsing as it is. It throws 4 inches of ground cover down the middle of the pavement every spring. As built, it was primarily a King County facility, but they've taken no interest in maintaining it for the last 30 years, so something eventually needs to be done as part of the city park.
That would be a negotiation with P.S. to transfer the lease to the location.
Or negotiate a new one, if they let the old one last.
Okay. You remember, we talked about alternative sources of revenue. We talked about the local transportation benefit district fee, which I know is very popular done with many cars, but that's always an option down the road for helping to repair streets. There's a list, I just went through the list of cities, there's about 25 that have done that so far.
And if we do that, we secure it so the county can't take it.
Right. We don't know when that's gonna happen, so just, just in case you wanna think of ways to fund that. We do have transfers coming into the the street fund, but they're rather minimal. And next year, with the work projected to go on in there, it's gonna reduce the street fund to, I think, about 50,000+, unless we transfer some from the general fund, so. Okay, moving right along. I took all those down, by the way. Okay, the municipal court, I plan on having, okay. So Kelly and I have met and put together some numbers to show that it's a positive effect on the city as far as revenue generation, and I'll have that for you with this next budget, iteration of the budget.
And is the Algona Court breaking even at least for us? It doesn't, with administrative costs and time,
Yeah,
we're...
it is. It's actually making money, so. Okay, next is the city clerk. Man, my machine is not, there we go. So the city clerk is gonna have some training next year. She's, Amy's cleaning up our records. And there's a lot of cleaning going on in there. As you guys know, there's a big, huge backlog. So we've got a lot of goals for next year, and we need a lot of support. Anything you want to add, Amy, about next year? One thing I will note is that I'm really close to starting to buy, actually probably next Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, my early treat. So we're going to be able to do different reports, such as breaking out, say, Amy and I are talking about breaking out the city clerk from finance for internal management. I don't think it's going to be that interesting in the council, but there will be other reporting measures that I'll be able to do without having to rewrite Excel on my computer, which is what I have to do now to do the financial report, so that's pretty exciting. Okay, let's go on to the same finance department. We've got a lot going on between the budget. I'm starting to work on the budget amendment for 2013, and the auditors have been really nice and leave me alone. We still have to do the annual report, which we're more than 50% through, and my goal is to get it done before Thanksgiving, so they can come in after Thanksgiving. Something I would like to put before you next week, actually, yeah, I'll do it tonight. The budget amendment is slated for 2 readings, which would be the 9th and the 23rd. I've talked with the city clerk and with Leanne about possibly doing that in a single reading. If it's, if we go through the workshop with it on the 2nd, and that would mean passing the budget on the 9th and the budget amendment. So it might be a long meeting, both of those meetings, but possibly not having a meeting on the 23rd, if that's something council would like to look into. This means a little bit more work now, but then it saves us, at the end of the year. And it is a 5-week month, so I mean, it's not like if there's something comes up we can't do it, but the city hall is closed Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. So, just an idea.
Are you closed next Thursday and Friday?
Yes. Okay, moving on. Police department. Okay. I should speed up the time, there we go. So I broke down the expenses. I think Clint was really interested in this. I will be refining that tomorrow, but I think that's basically what you see there. Now, the criminal justice is where we pay for the leases on the vehicles, or we buy them outright. That's where we pay for the jail expense, and we also pay for the communications. So these are significant amounts there. The combination of the 3 is about $200,000 to $300,000, and then G&A is mostly 3 staff, the chief, the police specialist, and the technician, and then some odds and ends as far as supplies and whatnot. And the rest is operational. I did put the chief's narrative on there just to show his numbers.
Wow. So for 2012, the crime rate almost doubled.
No doubt.
What is with how we're staffed right now, what's that target look like? What's a good year?
Clarify your question?
So, like, for 2012, the rate on the far right-hand side was 51.7 per thousand. The previous year was 26.5, 27 the year before. With how we're staffed right now, what's a realistic expectation? What is your best case scenario for this year? And going into 2014?
Well, we've had all of our budgeted positions filled, okay, so, you know, we see, and I think the statistics will show that when we were low on staff, the crime statistics went up. During that time, when we had higher staff, it included, there was some brief mention of the chief wanting a car dedicated to traffic enforcement, and we had this program going on before, but I don't think it was fully supported by council, or at least part of the council, because they expected instant revenues where, you know, things, and I think the court can support me on this. You know, we had a car that was dedicated to traffic, high visibility, a lot of activity going on with that traffic car, and but because the revenues were instantaneous, we had marginal support on that program. We were forced to take that traffic car off the road, and what we saw was after we took the traffic car off the road, the revenues kept increasing, what was coming in, up until a certain point where it peaked, and then it started declining to the point where traffic enforcement, the amount of cases that were filed took a big decrease, and then we started seeing the crime rate going up a little bit, and it was really affected when a freeze was placed on the police department, where we couldn't fill positions. So we see the future, we see some relief in the future because we don't have a freeze on the police department. The mayor allowed us to hire 2 positions that were budgeted. We're still short the sergeant's position, which was not budgeted. And then the chief believes that with the traffic car, he believes that that's a position that could pay for itself if we give it a chance to work, which we did not the last time. But we're pretty optimistic. We've got good officers out there, and we believe that the numbers are going to change. There's going to show a positive return as far as cases filed, number of infractions that'll be issued, cases filed in court, and we think that there's going to be an effect on it's going to show a difference on how it affects crime in the community. We've had when we look at 2011 and 2012, those are numbers that we're not happy with, but we think 2014 is going to show a vast improvement.
And what's the, for a city our size, what should we expect? Like, I mean, I know that 50 is not a good number because the other 3 years is about half that. So,
Yeah.
what is a good number for us to target?
I can't give you a good number other than it'll be better than last year's number.
Okay. I'll hold you to that.
Oh, we're not even gonna know what 2013 is for this state not here till mid
next year.
Josh and then
probably
Gary.
as bad as 2012.
Related to both enforcement and budget, I'd support traffic enforcement even if it didn't make revenue, because I think it's the leading cause of injuries and deaths in the community. But when we were discussing alternatives before, when we were looking at the budget, the chief had discussed the possibility of reducing the labor cost of enforcement by getting a school zone speed camera proposal, and there was talk of working with Auburn for a red light camera at the Skinner-Ellington intersection. Do you know if there's been any further look at those since?
Well, I have talked to the chief about that, and as you know, we've gone through a period of crisis here.
Yes, so that's...
So some things that were talked about, initially the camera was not a program that the chief supported. For the welfare of the city, for the benefit of the city, he looked at it as an option because the city felt that they needed some revenue source. He thought that would be an option, but everything's been tabled over the last. We're just playing catch up right now, and I can't give you any word on where we are right now as far as moving towards that subject.
Yeah, as a parent, I just want people to be there putting in the school zone and not running the stop sign on the way to, court. Jerry?
What we need to realize is there's going to be, if we have the traffic control, there's going to be somewhere between 6 months to a year lag time between when we take care of issues and we start seeing revenue, because by the time they get through the court and make arrangements to pay. But I firmly believe that traffic program definitely pays for itself, plus quite a bit.
Yeah, and I do too, and I'm one of the command staff, and I know we talk a lot about revenue. Okay, what can we do to help the city? But to me, revenue is secondary. Okay, safety of the community to me is primary, and it's just that when people see a police car out there on the side of the road with its lights flashing, they know that we have an active police force, versus when you don't see anybody out there at all. It's like we're part of a sleeping city, and so for me, it's all part of the public safety. I don't care about the revenue. I mean, no offense, but to me, it's public safety, and then it's education, and this is why we have our traffic school, because it's the educational part of the enforcement, but everything's related to bringing the statistics down. That traffic car really made a difference on people seeing that this is not a sleeper town, that we do have an active police force out there doing stuff, and that's my position anyway.
My concern, public safety is always a foremost issue, but the council seems a little bit divided on the revenue issues in the past. They are concerned that the revenue would not offset the cost, and the cost is a secondary factor. But public safety, I had two granddaughters grow up and graduate from high school here. They live 2 blocks from me, and one car is speeding down Pacific doing 40 miles an hour. I really don't want to see kids playing out in the street, and with cars going that fast, they can't stop in time. And if the kid's got a ball, that ball's liable to get away from him. The first thing he's going to do is run out in front of it. So we need to, I believe we need to increase the traffic patrol and go back to the traffic patrol program and slow some of the vehicles down a little bit and then improve the safety in our city.
And I agree, but we live in a world of reality where we have to pay for those. So, I mean, find the money and we'll pay for it. It's just a matter of finding the money. So.
Well, like in that light, I've noticed that in Seattle, since they put in school zone traffic cameras, they've not only significantly improved the safety in school zones, they've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars for school zone safety improvement programs, because some people don't learn. So I think we could have our cake and eat it too if we get the cameras, use the cameras to fund additional safety in the form of enforcement and in the form of improvement.
Something to look at.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed in the 2014 goals, I don't see accreditation anywhere in there. So is that a goal or continued goal for 2014?
We have a policy manual that's this thick, okay, and we've been working on this policy manual. We have an expert that working with us and to update that policy manual, and we're taking an aggressive approach towards getting that policy manual completed, and all of this is towards certification.